Hi, I'm Austin.
Hey, I'm Matt.
And I'm Jason. Today our group will be pulling an idea from Baslin's The Ontology of the Photographic Image, which was our first read.
The topic we will be discussing stems from Bazin's paragraph on page 12, in which he states that the photograph, or in this case, the film, is able to trick the eye and mind. Our question is, how does the film inflict a great emotional response?
One way in which film can have such a deep impact on the emotions of the viewer is through the use of audio. This is true for both diegetic sound and non-diegetic sound. Diegetic sound is sound that both the character in the film and the audience can hear. Non-diegetic sound is sound that only the audience can hear. It is part of the film but not in the story. For example, most music set to the story of the film will be non-diegetic as well as voiceover and off-screen narration. Non-diegetic sound is existent in a film almost entirely to evoke a reaction from the audience. For example, in one of the final scenes of Titanic, when Rose discovers that Jack has died, not only does the audience see that a character has died and another character struggles with that in the grave circumstance that they're in, but then we hear a deep, emotionally charged score that evokes even deeper sympathy. The scores are designed to bring out dramatic intensity and achieve the highest possible level of emotion to the viewer. This phenomenon is achieved by combining multiple forms of art, photography and music, to fully immerse the viewer into the story. This has never been before achieved with other art forms, which makes cinema exceptionally unique as it is more immersive than any other.
I'll never let go. I promise.
One reason the film has a much deeper emotional impact than traditional art forms is the fact that it is much more immersive than these other art forms. While some may be able to lose themselves, so to speak, in a photograph or painting, it is much easier to do so while viewing a motion picture, especially in a theater. The lights dim, the screen widens, and suddenly you are no longer sitting in a crowded movie theater. You're about to embark on an emotional journey through a fabricated world that the director has created. Due to this, it is much easier for most people to build an emotional connection with the film and its characters. For instance, when viewing a character in a portrait or painting, you may be able to visually connect with them on some level, such as their surrounding, their attire, or what they may be doing in the image. However, there is no deeper emotional connection because you don't know anything else about the character and the world they inhabit besides what you see on the surface. Motion pictures allow the audience to explore the intricacies of a character and their world. You get under their skin and get to see what makes them tick, their thought process, their conscious and unconscious desires, their fears, and their flaws. Then oftentimes we end up projecting ourselves into the character we see on screen because we can relate to these traits and the situations they are enduring. The character almost disappears entirely, and it becomes us who is taking on this journey laid out before our eyes, learning as we go and hoping that we will emerge victorious. This is a trait of cinema that can never be replicated by a still image.
One other unique way that film can evoke such heavy emotional responses is through the use of documentary film. Documentary is generally a non-fiction-based format of film that is aimed to bring an issue to light. For example, the film Blackfish is about the true horrors and abuse of orca whales in captivity. By the end of the film, the filmmaker has more than likely achieved their goal of twisting the way you may think about whales in captivity.
Tillicum, though, is the one that went after her.
Dawn is the senior trainer here at Shamu Stadium.
She captured what it means to be a SeaWorld trainer, that it made me realize what happened to her really could have happened to anyone.
I've been expecting somebody to be killed by Tillicum.
We weren't told much about it, other than it was trainer error.
It didn't just happen. It's not a singular event. You have to go back to understand this.
Documentaries change the emotional and psychological views of the audience on a grand level. The documentary Blackfish created a movement of people from all over the world to boycott SeaWorld and other venues that feature live whale shows.
The speedboat herded them in, and they could just pick out the young ones.
This is the worst thing that I've ever done.
So it's much easier to see how film can evoke much deeper emotional responses compared to other artworks. We see that the use of non-diegetic sound can exponentially increase the dramatic intensity of a scene.
You can see why documentary is a unique form of filmmaking, and that is a form of film designed to purely extract emotional responses from the viewer.
And finally, one can see that film is such an immersive art form more so than anything else. It allows us to escape our reality and live in someone else's world.
Shit, what's our send-off?